Okay, this is the level 2 factoring backside. And so I'm going to work on the odds. And so I want us to remember our steps from earlier. So step 1, we're factor by grouping, is split middle term. Step 2 is remember our ax squared plus by plus c, and to multiply a times c to get our factors. Step 3 is getting our factors from step 2. Step 4 is to fill in our blanks with the add/subtraction of factors in step 3 that equal b in ax squared plus bx plus c. Step 5 is to group and find GCF of each group. And in step 6 is to write the solution. So now we've taken care of all of our steps. Let's look at this one. If we look here, we notice that we don't have a term in the middle. We don't have it in the ax squared plus by plus c. So let's try and get it into that. Well, if I look here, this is a pretty simple problem for us to factor because we can pull out a greatest common factor. And so both terms have a p squared. So I can come in here and I can say, both terms have a p, so I can come in here and say, my lowest p is p squared, and pull that out and be left with 4p plus 10. Well, now I can look at my numbers, and if we had the rules in front of us in the back, we know that both of these are divisible by 2 because they're even, and since this one's not divisible by 4, and 4 is my smallest, and they're not divisible by 3 because 4 is not divisible by 3, we know that the highest number I can go is 2. And so we have 2p squared, and we write what's left behind, which in our case is 2p plus 5. And so I factored that completely. That is done. I have nothing left to do. Now, let's do a factor by grouping where my a is a prime number. Okay, my a is going to be a prime number. So if we look at number 9 here, we see that we have 7n squared plus 11n minus 30. Well, remember our first step is to take 7n and split 7n squared and split it into some n minus 30. Okay, the next thing we have to do is we have to take a times c. Well, a this time is 7 and c is 30. Okay, 7 times 30 is equal to 210. Well, now I need to find the factors of 210. Well, 210 can have 1 and 210. It can have 2 and 105. It could have 3 and 70. It doesn't have a 4. It could have a 5 and 42. It could have a 6 and 35. It could have a 7 maybe. Yep, 7 and 30. No 8, no 9, but it can have a 10 and 21. And that's about it. I don't see an 11. Because if I did 11, that would be 100, and that doesn't work. 12 doesn't work. 13 doesn't work. So 10 and 21, it looks like they're the last ones. Okay, so now that I have done that, I see which ones when I add and subtract in step 4, which ones if I add and subtract would give me 11. will give me the B. I'm looking for 11. Well, 1 and 210 gives me 211 and 209. This one gives me 107 and 103. This one gives me 73 and 67. This one gives me 47 and 37. This one gives me 41 and 29. I get 37 and 27. Nope, 23. I get 31 and 11. Okay, perfect. I get 11. And so I know I can use 10 and 21, which were my last ones. So I'm going to box them. Now, I have to be careful because I need to choose these in a manner to where I can have negative 30. Well, that means that one of them has to be negative. I need a positive 11, so I'm going to have positive 21 minus 10. And so I choose positive 21 because my answer here is positive, and I choose negative 10 because I got to get 21 to 10. And so now I do my next step, which is step 5. And that's write my groups. Well, my group's going to be 7n squared plus 21 and negative 10n minus 30. And so now I find the GCF. Well, if I look, oops, I forgot that this is supposed to be 21n. And so if I look here, I see that not only can I pull out an n this time, but I can also pull out a 7 because 7 goes into 7 and it also goes into 21. And so when I do that, I realize that I can rewrite this now as a n plus 3. And when I look at the other one, I see that this n needs to be positive because I need the interior, just like in level 1. I still need this interior parentheses to have the same thing. So since this n is positive, this n needs to be positive. So I'm going to pull out a negative 10. And when I pull out a negative 10, I realize I have n, and negative 30 divided by negative 10 is a positive 3. And so once again, my n's are the same. And since my n's are the same, I can write my final step. My final step is to take the inside, so I have n plus 3, and times it by what's on the outside, so 7n minus 10. And that is our final answer. Okay? Notice how it's different from level 1. We don't have a nice pretty n both times. But that's okay, and that's why we use grouping when we get to harder stuff. Let's take a look at number 11, and then we'll conclude this video. Number 11, we're going to do the same thing. We have step 1. We split it. So I'm going to have 5v squared blank v plus 28. Step 2 is a times c. I have 5 times 28, which is going to be 0, carry the 4, 140. 0, carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10, 14. So 140. Step 3, list out those factors. Our target is 39. So in step 3, I got 1 and 140, 2 and 70. 3 doesn't work. 4 works because 40 is divisible by 4. So it's going to be 4 and 35. 5 works. It's going to be 5 and 28. 6 doesn't work because 3 didn't work. 7 works. That's going to be 20. I think 8 works, maybe. 8 goes in there 1 time, leaving me with a 6, 6, 0. Nope, 8 doesn't work. 9 doesn't work. 10 works. And then 11 doesn't work, and 12 doesn't work. So these are all my factors. And so in step 4, when I add or subtract them, I end up getting 141, 139, 72, 68, 39, 31, 33, 23, 27, 13, and 24, and 4. And so we see here that we have our 39, so our term is going to be 4 and 35. Okay, well, when we fill this in into our blanks, we notice it's a negative 39, so I need two negatives in order to add that. So I'm going to have negative 4 and negative 35. I'm so sorry. And so, while I get readjusted here for a second, there we go. Let me fix that. There we go. Sorry about that. And so now we go to step 5, where we make our groups. So my first group, I'm going to have 5v squared minus 4v times negative 35v plus 28. And so now I pull stuff out. And so I find my GCF, and so in this case I have 5 and 4, so all in v squared and v, so I see I can pull out a v. Well, that leaves behind a v minus 4. And so in my next one, I look and see, and I need it to be a positive v, so I'm going to pull out, and it looks like both of these are divisible by 7. So I'm going to pull out a negative 7. And when I pull out that negative 7, I'm left with, oops, sorry, this is supposed to be 5v, and I needed a 5. So when I pull out the negative 7, I'm left with my 5v plus, well, not plus, because I pulled out a negative 7, and so 28 divided by negative 7 would be minus 4. And so you see I still have my 5v minus 4, and I have my interior parentheses part as the same, which means my solution is now going to read 5v minus 4 times v minus 7. And so you could have put these in any way, but as you see, the order doesn't matter, and so that's our solution there at the end. Once again, you see that v is a little different because we have that prime number in front. Hopefully this will help you as you move forth into level 3.